let's get this started. Thank you all for joining and taking time off your day out of your day to hear what we have released actually yesterday. This is of course our partner webinar. We are informing all of you first, and we have our customer webinar tomorrow. So today we have again the usual setup. You can ask your questions in the question feature, which you will see in the GoToWebinar software. We will answer the questions at the end as much as possible. For those questions which we do not have time, we will do that in written format. Questions can be asked in both English as well as in German. We can also answer back in German. That is totally fine. So let's dive in. Today we have 3 speakers for you. Myself, of course. We have Marco here as well as our Director of Product, and we'll have Rick as our Director of Engineering. He will give all of the live demos again, so you can actually see what we have built for all of you. So the highlights of this release for this time around in spring. The things we will be discussing today. We will start with API Manager. This is a new and improved way for you to publish REST APIs and even connect them to profiles, so you can execute profiles through REST in a much easier way, including things like role-based access control, rate limiting, topics like that. Secondly, we will talk about our Enterprise Vault integration, which makes it a lot easier to securely save passwords and certificates outside of the data platform, but we can integrate with it. Thirdly, we will show you our Pathfinder AI enhancements, and we will end with, from the major feature point of view, with Trading Partner Manager, because there were some major additions to TPM this round as well. And we will wrap it up with an overview of some of our smaller improvements which we have made. And of course, all of these improvements with demo videos are also outlined on our release blog. With that, I would love to hand it over to Marco to dive deeper into the details.
Thank you, Jethro. Thank you, and welcome from my side as well. So if you look on the first 4 things on the slide, so API Manager, Enterprise Vault, Pathfinder, and Trading Partner Manager, they look like 4 different products, but they're actually one answer for one question. Who should actually be doing all this work? So right now, in the most of the environments we see in integration teams, the integration team is doing all this work. So they're managing passwords, they're managing APIs. They're also managing all the trading partners, and every one of those are small tasks. None of them are really strategic, but every new partner, every new endpoint, every new certificate creates a bigger pile. And at times, when hiring experienced integration talents is harder than ever, this pile becomes a real problem. So 26.2 takes this pile and redistributes it. Credentials can go to the security team, should not be handled by the integrations anymore. Partner management can go to self-service via Trading Partner Manager, and API governance can be handled in the platform itself, not in a third party or an additional tool. So the integration team can get to the integrations again. And this is the spine of this release. But let's start with the most visible piece, and this is the new API Manager. So the world you integrate is changing. Your ERP talks with the warehouse management system. Your warehouse management system talks to partners, to customers. And increasingly, someone of the business side asks, oh, can we therefore expose this to an API? So could we make that also something available for AI, for instance? And for a lot of these questions, you have to create a new project or even programmatically add some new tools, but not anymore with our new API Manager. So 26.2 brings you or gives you the new capability of a full API lifecycle management directly into the platform. So full lifecycle, role-based management, access control, versioning of deprecation notices, open API export, and rate limiting per partner channel. And the last one sounds more, matters more than it sounds, so that's the right word. So most platforms rate you or let you rate limit the API itself, but not the channel itself. We can now give you the capability to rate your partner on an API level. So picture you have an API endpoint for thinking a warehouse system, and you have 30 or even 300 customers who can hitting the same shipment status endpoint all over the places. So imagine one partner have a bad written loop, bad code, really old system. So on the most platforms, this will hit the rate limit and will throttle down the whole integration. But with our per partner limiting, only this noisy partner will throttle, and the rest can work on standard conditions. And this is a real difference from other integrations. But enough of my words. Rick, over to you.
Thank you so much, Marco. All right, let me share my screen here and have an actual look at our new API manager. So under integration, you can find the API manager, and I'm now looking at an API. I'm starting with a relatively simple example with an orders API. And you can already see some of the capabilities Marco highlighted. Like you can see, I have two versions of the orders API. I have a V1 that is strikes through because actually this is a deprecated API, and I have a V2 orders that is the new API. If I click on this one, then basically, and I go to the advanced settings, you see exactly what Marco was talking about. Here I have different types of requests and rate limits. So I can have multiple policies on this endpoint where I say like I have a global policy and I have a restricted policy with certain amount of requests in a certain time frame. Next to that, I've also specified that this V1 endpoint is sunsetted. So we have a warning which says, please migrate to the new endpoint by a certain date. I said it's deprecated and it is also sunsetted. So you can first give people warnings, then you can deprecate it, and at some point when it's really sunset, the only reason why it's still here is because I want to keep track of it from the history, but customers can no longer use it. If I now open up this API, I can hit show API documentation and I directly enter a Swagger UI that you could also share with the people that needs to integrate with this API. And you see the very same information. So you see this one actually has to strike through and this one doesn't. If I go back here, I go into a channel. I can actually see how this integrates completely with channels, how you know it. If I open up a channel, I can see that I select the policy. So with my different partners, I can have different policies. So we do the rate limiting on endpoint per partner. But the other thing I can do is I can actually say, get me some OAuth2 credentials. So if I now take a client ID, I go into the Swagger UI and I paste the client ID and the client secret, I'm authorized. That means I can now from here hit those endpoints. So if I hit post on the old orders API, I will see I get a 410 gone. So basically it tells me that this endpoint doesn't exist and it gives me that warning that I showed you earlier. If I go to the second endpoint, I hit try it out. Hit execute, it works. I got a 200. And if I hit execute again, I get an error, too many requests. So I'm hitting my rate limit. If I talk a little bit longer, if I wait half a second, I hit execute again, you'll see I'm back at a 200. So the rate limiting automatically falls back if I'm in the safe zone again. And last but not least, if I open up my invoices, I'll get a forbidden error. The reason for this is if I look here in my actual API, I can use association criteria on certain endpoints and on certain APIs. So it can really specify which role can access which particular APIs, which particular endpoints. And I can do this on different setups that you might know from other places of our platform. Like you can assign it to users, you can assign it to roles, to companies or clients, or you could even create more complicated logic if you want to build something around that. This is great. But Mark also said we have this profile integration and we have a deeper insight in that Swagger. So if I close this API and I go to basically the other APIs I have, and a slightly more complicated example, you see it looks very much the same, but here I have a call profile. And if I click on edit, you see that here I have actually like a complete order structure that needs to come in. If I close this one back, I show API documentation, you'll see that the entire input schema of that particular profile is also here reflected in the Swagger. So like there's really a tight integration between what you define in phase 3 and on the other hand, what you see in the Swagger. How hard is it to set up a new one, you might think? And actually that is rather simple. If I hit plus, I can create a new endpoint. I call it sample. Here I can basically say call profile. And then you see that there's a bunch of settings I can do to propagate some information, but there's also, if I scroll right, a plus button. If I hit it, it will basically give me a small inline wizard, which allows me to create a profile with exactly the information I want. I might want to back up some data and hit create. It automatically creates the profile for me with all the required settings. And now the whole Dursties works. So I basically can link my API to a profile. All the relevant phase 1 settings and phase 5 and phase 6 settings are set. I can directly start creating a target structure and select that in my Swagger UI. If you want to get started with existing profiles, my recommendation is do it once like this, so you know which settings you need, and then just mimic them, copy them over. Isn't that great? Back to you, Marco.
That's amazing. Thank you. So let me come back to my slides. From now on, the integration logic you've already built in the profile you wrote 3 years ago for your AP flow, for instance, you can now expose to a managed REST API. And I think this is really amazing without rewriting anything. Just import profile in and get REST out, full governance. So let's coming back to my slides. We just talk about what you expose to the outside world. So the next piece about what you can keep inside and where it actually lives. Because if you're publishing or consuming professional APIs, your customer security teams has an opinions about that. The keys of the APIs, where they are stored, where they store the passwords and how they can roll it. So let's talk about our next feature, enterprise vault integration. So, and here's the scenario. Your customer, a logistic company, has 300 trading partners. Each one of them have either an AS2 certificate or an API endpoint or some other credentials you have to store and you have to roll on a regular basis. Most of them expires annually, but some of them may be quarterly, or depending on the industry, some of them monthly. So today's your customer integration team owns this rotation. They get a new certificate by email, or just even an email message that an API will expire and they have to roll it. And hopefully they cover all of these and they can really handle that in the right time, because otherwise the whole connection goes down. So this is the reality in most of our customers. And this is also the reality. Obviously, the security teams of these customers want to change. So they have Azure Key Vault in place already, or HashiCorp. They manage everything of other credentials, the passwords, anything else they have in the company in these vaults. But until today, they could not give them a clear answer how they deal with Lobster. 26.2 will change that. We now have full Azure Key Vault support and full HashiCorp Vault support, full credentials and full certificate management, including AS2. One-time setup per field or for the whole integration, depending on your needs, and that's it. And Rick will show us exactly how that works now. So Rick, over to you.
Thank you so much. So it starts with configuring a vault. So if you go into the platform and you go into the administrations, you can see I can have multiple different vaults. I can have an Azure Key Vault, I can have a HashiCorp. I could even have multiple vaults if I work together with multiple departments. All of that works great. So all you do is you click plus, you give the thing an alias, an address, tenant ID, client secret, and then from there on it works. Once I've done this, I can go into my partner channels. And if I take that channel that I was just using, like I can say like, well, I have this particular partner, they authenticate against me, they have a password. How do we actually change this so this password get more secure? If I change it, I can say the password is now stored in the vault. I can select one of the vaults I created earlier. And from there on, I can select one of the names. So it goes into the vault, it can find which credentials are stored. Then I select a particular credential and I hit apply. Once I do that, it basically pulls the password, it stores it on, it stores the location of the password in here. But it doesn't store the actual password. So if I were to click view again, you will see it shows me that every time we need to use this password, the system doesn't just use the password, but it goes to the vault, to Azure, to the key value of that particular value I selected. So the value is always up to date, but never persisted here in the Lobster data platform. So it always comes from that place where it's maintained by, for instance, that external security department. And this is something that doesn't just work for passwords. And also not just for channels. Like everywhere where you see a password field in our software, you can select this. If I go to certificates, I can do the same. So if I add a new certificate, I can basically say the normal one is internal, but don't want to do that. Actually want to switch over to an external certificate. I can say, get it from Azure Key Store. Select a particular certificate, in this case my Lobster certificate, and as you see, it automatically imported the certificate with the validity date and with the common name. So also the certificates can be managed outside our Lobster data platform, but can just be used inside it here. Marco, back to you.
Thank you, Rick. So let me prepare for the next demo, but before I do that, a quick ask to the audience. We want to ask you a poll. So where do you see EDI in your organizations in the next few years? So let me launch this poll, and maybe you can use the next 2 minutes to get your opinions about that. Please vote where you see EDI in the organizations in the next 3 years. So let's see a lot of answers coming in. Majority said we are running EDI and REST side by side. Interesting. Another 1 minute or half a minute before we move forward. Okay, this is a clear picture. So over 68% of you answering, we are running EDI and REST APIs side by side. Really interesting. Okay, now let's go back to my presentation. So what you saw in the demo of Rick is, and I think I want to highlight this, you don't have to move at once. You can vote one credentials at a time and then the next one and the next one, really handy. So no big bang for your customers. But you're now able to give him the whole security level he wants, depending on the requirements for sure. So far we have talked about handing things to the security team and to the platform itself. So next we talk about handing things to AI, to our Pathfinder. But before that, let's start with a quick history check, so to say. So nearly a year ago, with 25.0, we introduced Pathfinder the first time. We had chatbot and a function chain documentation. And then in October last year, with 25.1, we add error log explanations and smart function search, together with this January text to SQL and cron top. So every release, Pathfinder learns something more really specific for our integration, for our platform, and how they can help you as a co-pilot in your day-to-day work. And 26.2 will add another capability, and this is regex. Describe a pattern in plain language, and you get the syntax back. This is useful, but I'm not going to oversell here. So regex and all the other tools are really useful. But the real news about 26.2 and also stuff we have to announce later on with Jethro is that we are now moving into a really new direction. And with 26.2, we define the groundwork for that. So we redefine the whole user experience of our Pathfinder integration and lay the groundwork to go into the direction of auto mapping. And how that looks like, Rick will show you right now.
Thank you so much. So let me take here an example of a profile. I have some text coming in and I need to parse this text. Typical example for a use case for a regular expression. For this, I basically said, well, I need to use a simple regex matcher, and I said I need to have some kind of particular regex. And as you can see, it also said need regexes, ask Pathfinder. So what I can do is I can open up Pathfinder, and it basically now tells me here in my beautiful new, completely restyled Pathfinder dialog, some things I can do. And actually you can see it understands now I am in a profile. So basically all the suggestions it gives me are like very much profile specific. And I can of course ask it a question just like I did earlier to get this value, create me a regex to extract a email from a larger text. And what it's going to do now is it's going to basically ask this question to Pathfinder, and Pathfinder now is going to figure out which is the agent it needs to use to actually make sure to answer this question. Like as Marcus said, we are building all these capabilities on top, so we make sure that all the different agents we have, all the different skills we have around our platform can talk to each other to make sure we give the right skills. And in this case, it's going to trigger the regular expression agent, and it's going to give me a regex. And this text is a little bit large, so I will actually hit enlarge, I get the big screen, and it tells me here's a regex pattern, and it also explains to me why it is what it is, so I can actually see whether this works or not. If I'm happy with the text, I can copy it, and I can basically take it with me. If I'm really happy with the text, I can even give feedback, so that can be used for additional training. But this goes further. As you can see, I have this example field with a very long, I would say gibberish. I think most of us might not be really well versed with regular expressions. So what we would typically do is we open up the test mapping. We hope that there's a file. Well, in this case, there is. We trigger the test, and then we see, probably this is some kind of email or like some kind of phone number. But it's not the easiest way to reverse engineer what is going on. So what I can also do is I can just take this, I can go back to Pathfinder and I can say, give me a new chat. What is this regex? I paste it. And what it's going to do is it's going to trigger that same agent to actually understand what is this regular expression doing and how does it work. And it's a really powerful and funny thing. So this regex I also didn't write by hand. I actually just basically said, give me a regex for a phone number, and it gave me one. As you can say, it explains to me here, you might have a plus at the start, and then you have like a couple of digits, some separators, all those kind of things. Gives me some examples. And the funny thing is, it can reason with this. So my initial version actually was not correct. So I gave it a phone number that actually is the phone number I wanted to be able to match. And then it was able to tweak the regex. So it's something that just helps you debugging. And as Marco said, these are like these pillars we can use towards the future. The other thing that we've done which I think is really nice, is if I basically open up Pathfinder different context, you see, hey, it has a different context, so it gives me different recommendations, but I can ask it some generic questions. So how do I integrate with PostNL? I heard through the grapevines there's something going on with PostNL and Lobster, so let's just ask it this question and see what it does. And what it will do now, actually, it will trigger a completely new documentation agent that has access to our new document 360 documentation that you might have seen already. And it tells me, well, actually, if you want to do that, use our cap connector, the one we've talked about earlier as well. And it actually knows that this cap connector now has been expanded with PostNL. And if I want to know even more, I can click on the link and I can go straight to the documentation and it tells me all about the cap connector. So it also helps you to navigate through the documentation in a clever way. And with that, back to you, Marco.
This is awesome. And before I heading to the next topic or the last topic for today, let me raise another poll with the audience. What would you like to build us for Pathfinder next? We have a roadmap clear, but I think you also have ideas. So maybe quick, short answer, 1 minute. What is the most missing feature on Pathfinder from your opinions? Document a profile or describe the difference between versions of a profile, JSON path and XPath integration, or portal and form generation. Okay, I see a battle between document a profile and portals. Really interesting. Interesting. So we have a clear winner here. And this is document a profile. Thanks for anyone who participated. And now let's go to our last highlight topic for today before we hand over back to Jethro. So Rick and I have talked about certificate management. We have talked about how to handle APIs. The last topic we demo today is about the people's outside. So your customers, trading partners, the hundreds of external companies, they exchange data with each one every day. And in 26.1, so this January, we launched Trading Partner Manager for new incoming partners. So the obviously next question is, okay, now I can onboard new partners, how I handle all the partners I already have in my Lobster data platform. So, and in 26.2, we answer that. So with 26.2, you now can import existing partner channels and configurations directly into Trading Partner Manager. No re-entry, no remapping. The partners that have been in the platform for 10 or even more years now can manage themselves through the web interface. The same interface your new customers onboard today or tomorrow. And we also add other pieces to this chain because we find it really beneficial. So for instance, certificate self-service. You know that scenario. A business partner emails you on a certificate. It lands in the shared inbox of your integration team. Someone picks it between two other tickets. A day pass, maybe 3 day passes. And the old certificates is maybe 1 or 2 days before expiring. So no one's really quite sure if this change of the certificate will happen. And in worst case, the connection break. So with Trading Partner Manager in the next version, we will also enable self-service for that. So your business partner or your trading partner can upload certificates themselves through the portal itself. The whole approval change flow automatically into the connected data platform, and the integration team doesn't touch it at all. So certification rotation stops being in a ticket or being piled up in an inbox, and it becomes a process and runs itself. But that's not all. We also add FTPS because we had the first feedback from you that you need explicitly and implicitly support for FTPS channels as well. So for sure, we add that. And last but not least, we give you the capability to manage channel transfer between Lobster data platforms. So if you have a dev, production, and training setup, you now easily can move the channels created through Trading Partner Manager or managed by Trading Partner Manager through these different environments. So, Rick, wrap it up for today with the demos.
Awesome. So as you can see, I'm looking here at a Lobster data platform. I'm now a customer. And I am connecting to my demo trading partner. I can see I have this channel, and this channel actually is expiring soon on the certificate. That normally would mean phone calls and changing all those things and making sure that you coordinate exactly at which moment you change that certificate. But what I can do now is I can go to the Trading Partner Manager. Trading Partner Manager is already connected. I can do a sneak hint here. You got the FTPS channels as Mark was talking about. And what I want to do now is I want to take that particular channel and I want to do something with it. So I go to the LDP partners and channels. I select my environment. Yes, please. And then basically it shows that demo trading partner. And I see there's one channel available, one not yet migrated. So basically it allows me to import that trading partner channel. Click on it. I hit send invitation to actually invite the company to work together with me on this particular invite. If I hit preview, I can see the preview of the email. And last time, lots of people asked the question, can I change the logo? Can I change the colors? Yes, you can change the logo. Yes, you can change the colors. I hit save and send. And then basically now I'm invited. Next step is the trading partner will actually get this invite, create an account, and they will log into the Trading Partner Manager. So this is no longer somebody in the company of our customers. It is in the company of that trading partner. And they'll see another new feature, which is the notifications. And they will see that there is going to be a certificate that will expire very soon. They also have an overview of notifications, and every notification, of course, triggers an email. They can also go into their particular certificates, and they can see this one has 8 days to expire. I open up the certificate, could do it here, could do it from the notification. I hit renew, and then I can basically upload a new certificate. So I choose a file, select a new certificate, and then I can say I want to renew it. Either I do it immediately because I can also change my own system, or I schedule it at a particular date and time, or at a very particular timestamp, which is really useful if you need to still change the certificate on your own system and on the other system. So it's nice to coordinate this. I do it immediately. I hit commit, and now actually, if I look at my certificates, I see I have 2 certificates in the system. If I now go back to the partner or to the customer in their LDP and I refresh the screen, what I will see is something changed. I see this TPM icon shows up. So basically now the customer sees this Trading Partner Manager channel is managed through TPM, so no longer manual work. And if I open it up, I can see the new certificate is in use. So that's the certificate I just uploaded. And as soon as this certificate is about to expire, the trading partner will get another email and they will basically go through this whole flow again. So no more worrying about keeping your certificates up to date. It's actually something that you just hand over to your trading partners. And of course, you will still get your own email if something does go wrong, so you can actually take action early enough if the trading partner doesn't do it by themselves. And with that, I would say back to you, Marco.
Thank you, Rick. So pull back for a second. This release isn't a feature dump, it's a redistribution of work. Every one of your customers is growing to grow. More business, more partners, more endpoint, more systems. And 26.2 is the answer to that. 26.2 is available to all Lobster Data Platform customers starting today, which means starting today, you can start leveraging and using all the functionality you saw in the demo, or even you can pitch that to new customers. The API Manager story lands particularly very well for anyone who's been asking about API modernization. The Vault story lands very well to everyone who have security concessions. And if you have customers sitting on a large existing partner landscape, I can guarantee you the Trading Partner Manager story lands 100%. So Jethro, what do you think about that? Back to you, and what else we have in 26.2?
Yes, thank you, Marco. I'm quite excited about this this release because it also creates a foundation for Pathfinder to do much more. So let's dive into what else is new. As I'm trying to move the slides along. Let's see. Because we have, of course, multiple other improvements as well. Marco, maybe you can move the slide because it's not working on my end.
I have control, but no worries.
So there are a couple of other features we have released as part of this release as well. So first of all, like Rick already alluded to, we have expanded our CAP connector support to also include PostNL, which is important for the Benelux market. Secondly, we have invested in how you can restart integration jobs using archived files, which makes it a lot easier for you to iterate during profile development. This was a much requested feature from you through our roadmap portal, and we picked it up this release because we feel it really improves the quality of life for all of you. You have the enhanced process map with new improved visualizations and some useful things like how you can zoom in and things like that. We have added support for the AWS Signature version 4, for example, with Lambdas and with services like S3. We have added in application restart. I think this is quite important because sometimes you have changed maybe some configurations and you need to restart the platform in order to apply those settings, basically. Now what you can do is restart it right from the platform itself. So no need to go outside or go to IT administrators. There is a restart button, and it even works in clustered or high availability setups, which means that it will also restart the working nodes and the node controller in the right order, making sure there is no downtime when you do these restarts in high available setups, but all through the user interface. So I think that's quite useful. And finally, this is an important one for your customers as well. We are upgrading towards a new version of Java, which brings performance improvements and prepares us for the future because we ran a fairly old version of Java. Now it will run on 21, which is also a long-term supported version from Oracle. So these are major improvements. Now, what we have also done is expanded our academy. And I know some of the partners in the call today, I saw some names flying by already even did our second certification, Data Hero Scout. So Data Hero Starter was already available. It's for free, fully self-service in both English and German. We also released now Data Hero Scout, our second more advanced track, also available for free, fully self-service, again, also in both languages with an official certificate at the end, and it contains additional modules. Now this track, this learning track, you can also do with an instructor. Then it's of course a paid service, but it's your choice. So you can decide to do the free self-service version online at your own pace, or you choose a paid version with an instructor there to guide you through the learning track. Both options are fine. You can pick whatever you want. Now we have a roadmap here as well. So later this month or early May, we will release the other training. So for installation administration, that is also coming up with a video and also with a certificate, because I know as partners, it's important you also are able to do installations and administration. So that will come also fully self-service for free live in the academy. And then longer term in June, we will release more on profile change and sub-profiles and other capabilities. So if we move ahead, indeed, we are also launching a live series with our technical success managers. So every month, except in the release month, we will do a technical session with really hands-on development. So people from Florian Meyer's team, really the top experts we have in our organization, they will do live builds together with the audience. So for example, on Friday, the 8th of May, we will spend time together with the audience build an efficient profile chain, showing you how to use maps, sub-profiling, things like that. Now in June, we will do the same for APIs and services. I'm sure we will probably also maybe do something with MCP, let's see. And in July, we then have another release webinar coming up. And then in August, we will look at platform operations, things like external monitoring, Grafana, New Relic. So every month we will have content for you. We'll record it all, so you can also watch it later through the academy, for example. But these are really deep dive sessions. So we heard feedback from you that you want more tech, more details. We will have dedicated sessions for these topics. They will be shorter. I think it's half an hour, but really allows you to go deeper. You can register today. It's on that website you see over there. There's a QR code. I'm sure there will also be a partner newsletter for this. I know our friends of marketing are listening. We'll make sure we also distribute it to those channels for you to join. That's around our TSM webinars. Then let's look at what's coming up next from a roadmap point of view. So 3 main things for the next release we can already share the teams are working on since this week. I will start with Pathfinder. We are now really going into the age of, or the era of AI-powered mapping generation. So I know lots of you have asked for that historically. That's also where we didn't put this answer in the poll because you're already building it. This means that our ambition is that in the next release in July 26.3, only 3 months away, we'll have a first version of mapping generation through AI. There's lots to unpack here. We will spend a lot of time on this in the next release webinar, but you should think about you have your source and target structures and AI can analyze it and do mapping suggestions for you. With a human in the loop, of course, but highly automated. Secondly, we will focus on self-service for the Lobster Cloud. So we will launch a portal which allows you to, for example, easier do cloud restarts, configure certain things in the cloud, so that and have visibility on your environment, which means that you have less support tickets if you operate in the Lobster Cloud. And finally, we will improve and standardize the user rights and roles, because we know when we brought our 2 technologies together in the Lobster Data Platform, that some of the pre-configured, let's say, roles we had historically in Lobster Data are slightly more complex in the LDP. So we will make some rules templates to make this easier for you to administer the platform. All of this you can follow on our roadmap online on the website. The website got an update, so you can see it's a fully dark mode now, but you can go there, you can check it out, and upvote features, submit your IDs. This is also where some of these things are actually coming from. So please keep doing that. We really, really appreciate that. Now to round it off and open it up for questions, you will also get a link afterwards. We would love your feedback to help us shape these release webinars, because we're doing them, of course, every quarter, every release, and we're sure you have feedback. So we have a few simple questions. It will take only, I think, 2 minutes to fill in the survey to let us know how you feel we can improve these release webinars and this communication from us to you as our partners. It's very valuable for us to get that feedback. So if you have time, we would really appreciate if you fill it in. With that, I suggest we can open it up for questions. I see we have a lot of questions coming in. Let's see. Maybe we just start from the first ones I see here. I can hand it maybe to Rick, and then Marco, you can also step in, I would say. The first question I saw for you, Rick, is you saw it maybe already for OAuth2 and OIDC. If we can use that as well in the context of the API manager. That's how I read this question.
So currently we do not have any support for external identity providers for API manager. So you can use OAuth2 external providers like 1Password and all the others and Keycloak for authentication into the platform as end users. But for APIs, that is not the case. So for APIs, everything is happening inside the platform with local users.
I think that's pretty clear. Another question for you, Rick, while we have you. What if it's skipping onto Vault, what would happen if a Vault is then not available? So imagine you configure your passwords in the Vault, but the Vault is down.
Yes. So basically, the drivers we use, they have a built-in retry mechanism. So there will be some retrying going on. It differs per type of configuration. Like for certificates, there's not, like basically they're always fetched on the fly. So if we fetch it on the fly because we need it for a file transfer, if the Vault is down, then of course we cannot fetch it. For other situations, we fetch it, especially in the configuration files, we fetch it on startup. Then we cache it in memory, so we don't store it anywhere. But that means if the Vault is down, we've already retrieved the value. So it differs a little bit on the situation. We try to make sure that the impact is limited. But of course, if the external system is down, we cannot always block that.
Yeah, exactly. Then continuing on the technical details for Vault, I think we got a question here from Nordfrost. It's about there are XML-based configurations, for example, the SAP connection service. Can you also insert Vault paths or something like that in there? Because not every password you configure to the user interface at this point. Yes,
so we assume it works in most of the places. We tested it in some, so I'm really curious to hear the results. This goes for most of the files that we use at runtime. So the only like very clear exception is, for instance, the database password of the HubDB, because that is something like we cannot access the Vault configuration if we don't have it in time. But I think there were some examples in the questions around like SAP. We have a very strong assumption it works.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, there should be documentation in place to explain how you then write that Vault path.
But it's the same with the other paths that people that are pros in our platform already know, and that's if you saw that $VS $, like if you follow that path, it will work.
Yeah, exactly. We should make sure we clearly document that. Marco, I also see some questions for you, like what other vaults do we plan to integrate? Is it only Azure Key Vault and HashiCorp, or how about 1Password, Bitwarden, HeyLogin? There are many others, right?
So the beauty is we integrate it that way that it's not so hard to add any additional provider into it. But at the moment, we decided to keep Azure Key Vault and HashiCorp Key Vault because that's the most common ones and it's the most requested ones from customers. If you see potential to add more providers here, please feel free to share your opinions on our roadmap. And then we can consider that. Yeah, for sure.
Yes, so that's why the roadmap is so important. Submit your IDs to the website. We note it now here as well. Obviously, we'll log it, but it's very important to submit it there because then we can keep track of it. We analyze all of this. If we have 5, 6, 7, 10, whatever more requests for the same thing, it allows us to invest properly. Yes. Marco, another one for you about API Manager, and it's actually 2 questions. First of all, is it possible to link to external APIs instead of calling a profile? And how does it then work with authentication or delegation of credentials?
So in general, absolutely. You can call also external profiles. And it really depends on how the API is working, right? So if you need to authenticate with an external API, for instance, with a bearer token, and someone gets this bearer token and can store that, you can use that. You can also call other APIs and work with the results you get back with the responses. So yeah, really depends on the case, right? So I would say in general, Rick, correct me if I'm wrong. Yes, you can do that, but it really depends on what is your API.
So, and I think also in the demo, I showed caller profile because if that's the world that lots of our people know, but because we built this based on technology that you might also know from orchestration and Forma Pro. On one hand, you could do things with profiles like I did in the demo. On the other hand, you could also do things with, let's say, entities that you've stored or triggering all kinds of other logic. So yeah, for sure, you can trigger all kinds of logic, and managing of credentials is done in the exact same way that you would have done it in the rest of the platform.
Yes. Exactly.
Yes. Yeah. So you can basically call any or consume any API you want, and then republish it basically.
But the profile one is the typical use case we saw, right? So you have already a SOAP profile established, for instance, you want to modernize that, you want to wrap around on REST API, then that's the way to go.
Yeah. And then the second question to that is, how is API Manager itself licensed? Is it separate add-on which you have to pay for, or is it consuming configuration items?
It's consuming configuration items, so it's fully included in Lobster Data Platform and an endpoint consuming a configuration item. That's it. Quite simple.
Yeah. Cool. Let's see if you have more questions on API Manager. So then we can move on to a Pathfinder question, maybe for you, Marco. Is it possible to access the documentation directly? That's how I understand the question, through Pathfinder chatbot.
Yes, you saw it in the demo. So Rick asked the question about the post and L integration, and the answer comes directly from our documentation. So there is a way that a Pathfinder can interact with our documentation, also learn from our documentation, but not the other way around. So if you're on the documentation portal, you have a search there as well, but this is really totally independent from Pathfinder. So the answers there will come from the documentation tool, not from Pathfinder.
Yeah. Then I see a German question. You can pick it up, I guess, Marco.
If I found it, yeah.
I'll assign it to you right now. It's about TPM and version 4.6. Do you see it?
Not now.
So the question is basically if
TPM, okay.
Yeah, the question is if TPM can be installed on 4.6, and it would be very useful in the context of migration to LDP.
Yes. So technical, no, it can't interact with version 4.6, but it can be used as a migration tool.
So basically the reason behind it, TPM only works on the Lobster Data Platform, and some of the latest capabilities even only work on 26.2. Others still work on like our earlier versions. But if you think about a LDP migration, and especially if you think about, for instance, like a on-prem to cloud, my recommendation is to look at our documentation. We've published a great migration guide or upgrade guide, how to go from 4.6 to the platform. So what I would do is I would follow that guide, which is almost a in-place migration. You click a couple of buttons, you wait some time for the database to convert it. Then you have your on-premises LDP, you connect TPM to it. And then if you want to go to the cloud, for instance, you could also connect that to TPM. So you can connect all those things, and there you can basically let the flow go.
Yeah, but the bottom line is you cannot connect a 4.6 to Trading Partner Manager. It must be 25.1 or bigger. That's true.
Yeah, exactly.
But moving to the platform is not consequently moving to the cloud. So there are two different topics.
Yeah, exactly. We always recommend to do an in-place upgrade and not combine upgrading from 4.6 to the LDP and move to the cloud in one move. That's not the way to do it. The way to do it is to first upgrade to the LDP locally or wherever it sits. And if you want to move to the cloud, that's the second step. And that upgrade is fairly easy and straightforward.
So maybe another question here, will 26.2 require Java 21? Or is it optional?
It is optional. So basically, we've built 26.2 in a way that it's completely compatible with Java 11 as well as Java 21. So right now you can choose. If you upgrade in place, that means you run it on Java 11. It just runs. You'll get a warning in the user interface to tell you that this will get some challenges in the future. In a future release, and that is going to be either 26.3 or 26.4, we will make it required. So the recommendation is to actually spend some time in the upcoming months to upgrade to Java 21, but also here you don't have to wait. So the nice thing is you can just get to use the latest features, enjoy all of that, and then take your time to actually plan your Java update. And I would say Java updates and patches typically should be part of your normal operations anyhow. So it's probably just getting a Java file, unzip it, and updating a Java home. Also, this process is documented on the documentation.
Yeah, cool. Then for TPM, the other topic is for certifications. For certificates, can we configure both TLS certificates as well as AS2 certificates?
Yes, so basically every channel that is support or channel type that is supported in Trader Partner Manager and every certificate there can be managed. So it's either to sign or to encrypt or to do other TLS things. And in OFTP, there's even pending certificates. All those kind of things is supported in Trading Partner Manager.
Same for SFTP as well.
Yes,
instance.
so SFTP and FTPS encryption channels, all of that is supported.
Then I see a final feedback item. It's more for us for marketing. 8 May is a free day in France for the TSM webinar, so maybe something to check. But we will take a look at that I think Gregory will ask the question. We can take a look at if it's possible to move. If not, you will for sure also get the recording, but let's see what we can do. Those were all the questions we had this time around. So if there, perfectly in time, if there are no other questions, I would like to thank all of you for your presence here today. And we are very much looking forward to the technical webinars with our TSMs, as well as the next release, because as you can imagine, we're all quite excited about auto-mapping and Pathfinder. So we are very much looking forward to our next release with all of you around summertime. So thank you very much for the time. Feel free to always leave us feedback through the roadmap portal or to the other channels that we have. And we are looking forward to our next session with all of you.